Hello and welcome to another YouTube character profile upload. This is from episode 85 of the podcast, recorded way back in March 2014. And on the bill this week we have Bill Webster, who we're talking about. We've decided to re-upload this because the Websters are growing in number on the street.
They're gonna take over if we're not
Positively
careful.
blooming.
We've got Debbie coming.
Yeah, Debbie is back.
Show.
Debbie is back now.
So that is Kevin's sister, and so in order to recognise the growing Webster clan, we decided to upload Bill Webster's profile, which we made, 6 years ago now.
Ages ago.
Before the actor passed away.
Yes, that was a couple of years ago now, wasn't it? 2018, Peter Armitage died of a heart attack, which is tragic for many reasons. We really, really wanted him to come back into the show at some point, and they haven't recognised yet either, have they?
No.
That the actor has died.
The character is still alive in the show, right?
Yeah.
So this is 4 years. So this was recorded 4 years before Peter Armitage died.
Yeah.
So this is the profile, but after we recorded this, he didn't return. So this is the final word on his character.
Changed.
So
I don't know whether I don't think because Debbie's obviously back now, but then she made a brief appearance last year as well, didn't she? I don't know whether Bill got a mention there at all. He's basically been mentioned a couple of times in the intervening years, mostly as an excuse for Mike Lavelle to get off screen for a little bit.
Yes.
But I don't know. I'm just wondering whether I always think that when the actors die off screen, it's always a nice tribute when the characters are paid tribute to.
They get like an ending.
Yeah, sometimes they have to be, like Deirdre obviously needed writing out, and Betty and Blanche, for example. But yeah, I mean, but then there's others like Hilda that I'm still waiting for. But with Bill, I suppose maybe they're thinking they're going to do it at some point, but they're waiting for some useful plot reason. Who knows what Debbie
will say. So listen to this character profile
to learn all about Bill.
It's classic character profile time. It's Bill Webster.
Bill Webster. We talked about him last week, because
night if you listened to us last night. But
he wants to come back into the show. Does Peter Armitage, now that he's all better again, kind of in remission? And also it's kind of linked in with this week's storyline as well, because he was the builder as well. Builder.
Oh Lord.
And I think I wouldn't have think he would have had much chance up against Phelan if he'd still been the Corrie builder, but I don't think Phelan would have gone after Pam anyway, the same way he has against Anna, so he probably would have been alright actually.
He was Bill Webster on the 2nd of November 1942 to parents Jim and Helen Webster. He had 3 wives, not all at once. Alison Cartwright, 1964, Elaine Pryor, 1985, and Maureen Elliott in 1998. Not Auntie Pam.
They did get engaged, didn't they, Pam and Bill?
I'm starting to wonder if he just made this whole thing up.
I hope that when Kevin comes back in a few weeks, we find out what's been going on with him and Pam and Bill.
But she's dead.
I think they might have split up or something. I don't know.
Anyway, don't ruin it for me.
Bill has had 3 children, and I didn't even know about one of these before I started doing the notes for this. So Kevin, obviously, born in 1965, and then his sister Debbie, 1968. There's also a Carl Webster as well, who was born in 1966 to Elaine Pryor, who I don't really know very much about at all. 1986? What did I say?
1966.
Yes, 1986 was Carl Webster born, but we'll find out what happened to him later.
Yes, it's character profile time. We get to find out everything.
Bill
that happened.
First appeared on the 6th of February 1984, so just over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was last...
No, say the last time he appeared, not his last appearance.
Yes.
29th of December 2011.
Yeah, and we spent like the first half of 2012 wondering when he was going to be in it again, because they just kind of...
Yeah.
He just wasn't... He was in it for a scene, and then...
Then he wasn't.
So sad.
All
in all... Go on.
In 557 episodes.
That's not many for someone who's been in it 30 years.
But he was the 80th most featured character, played by Peter Armitage.
Yes, now, Peter had been in Coronation Street before his role as Bill Webster, which is what we seem to find has happened to lots of kind of big characters later. He was in 1977, working as a painter decorator, where he did some job in the Rovers. Now, after that, he went and did some other little small bits of TV work, including adverts. He was in an advert for the Yellow Pages, apparently, and that was when he was spotted by Coronation Street talent scouts or casting people or whatever, and he was given the job as Bill by Bill Podmore in 1984.
I like the cut of your jib. I shall call you Bill.
Now, at the time, they'd planned for the Webster family to remain on Coronation Street for at least 6 or 7 years. Well, obviously the Websters are still in it 30 years later, but not the same Websters that Bill Podmore had hoped to stay, because Bill Webster himself only stayed for a couple of years before he went off, and Debbie as well. What happened to her?
I don't know.
But Kevin stayed at least. Good old Kev. So let's see a bit about Bill's history then. 1980, we shall start off, because that is when his wife Alison died of breast cancer, and he had to raise Kevin and Debbie on his own. So, single father.
He was a single dad before it was popular.
Yeah. Ahead of the time, and that was why I think when Sally got breast cancer, she was like a little bit worried about telling Kevin about it, because didn't want to bring up bad memories.
Before 1984,
which is when he came into Coronation Street,
he worked for the council doing repair jobs on the council houses. And when he first appeared in 1984, he was renting Len Fairclough's builder's yard from Rita.
This is after Len's died.
And she also lent him £1,000 because he's struggling for money. But he gets accused of stealing from the church when he was given the job to repair the roof. But he is vindicated.
Yes.
Later on.
So he then, the family moved into the street in 1984 because Elsie had fled to Portugal at that time, leaving Linda Chevesky in charge of it. And so he buys this place from Linda. And then also that year was when he met his future wife, Elaine Pryor, who was the niece of Percy Sugden. I didn't even know that Percy Sugden had a niece.
Wow.
I'm still learning. After 85 episodes, I'm still learning.
They fall in love, they get engaged, and in 1985, they get married. And happily ever after, they get to move to Southampton.
That's where we live, Southampton. I've never seen them walking around.
Well, they've got a salon here, and you don't go to the hair salon, and I never get my hair cut, so it's pretty well.
Yes, Elaine was a stylist or something, I think she must have been. Because she had her eye on this Southampton salon. It must have been a good one to move all the way from Weatherfield.
That one that's opposite Curves called Ahead of Time. Really good place.
Kevin doesn't want to move to Southampton.
Wow, screw you, Kevin.
It's not that bad here. So he stays in Weatherfield. But yeah, that's the last almost that we see. That's the last we see of Bill for a while. We find out that off screen he's moved to Germany. Germany must be better than Southampton.
What's wrong? No, I don't think so.
And then that's when Elaine gives birth to Carl.
Was that before? When did the wall come down?
Oh yeah, that was before the wall came down even.
Oh, I hope they went to the right side. Anyway, in 1994, that naughty Elaine cheated on Bill with one of his superiors.
Yeah, one of his bosses at
off screen.
Yes. We
chatter that we hear.
I think so.
He thumps him.
We did see that.
And comes back to England. We saw a scene in setting Germany.
I don't remember. I think they might be back from Germany by then. I don't remember now. I really don't remember. It was days ago that I was doing the research of this. Days.
In 1995, he returns to England.
I should have read these notes again.
And meets Sally and the girls for the first time. He tries to make a good impression by cooking dinner at number 13, but he ends up setting the kitchen on fire.
Oh, Bill.
Much like Tim. He works as the potman at the Rovers and moves in until he loses his job when the Duckworth take over.
In 1996, he set up a building business with Jim McDonald. Now, Kevin and Sally that year have to bail Bill out because he gets this tax bill for £1,400 plus 11 years of interest, and Rita gets a bit annoyed at this because
How did that happen?
I don't know.
Soap drama.
That's how it happened. Yeah, Rita had given Sally and Kevin this money, so she's not that happy that they use it on Bill. He gets a friendship up with Maureen Holdsworth that year because Reg is off working in Lowestoft. and he's run off with this other woman, and that leads to a relationship between him and Maureen that even Maureen's mum Maud approves of, because she never really liked Reg. I think you and Maud,
we're one of a kind. We're birds of a feather.
Don't like Reg, you two, do you?
Bill lets Maureen down by going to Bristol to spend Christmas with Carl and Elaine. And so she sleeps with Curly while he's away. Because why not show him you mean business by sleeping with Curly? But he forgives her, so it didn't really work.
Bill seems to be a bit of a player as well, doesn't he?
Maybe that's why Auntie Pam's had to ditch him.
Yeah. 1997, Bill whisked Maureen off to Blackpool, but he returns to find Curly locked up in the shop storeroom. I can't remember how he got there, actually. But he accused Maureen of continuing their affair and punched him. And completely innocent Maureen finished with him.
Good. She gets engaged to Fred quite quickly afterwards. And Bill says, right, I'm going back to Germany once you get married.
Yeah. I remember this happening, and I was very shocked with how little time Maureen and Fred were married, because you know how Fred would propose to people at the drop of the hat. I think that's probably what happened between him and Maureen. So they were married for like 3 weeks, and then she decides to go off to Germany with Bill. Oh no, not even 3 weeks, 10 days after the wedding. Sad. Because at this time, this is when we had Brian Park, the Axeman, as the producer, and he had shacked Sherry Hewson and Peter Armitage as part of his mass clear-out. She's always said that she was never convinced by the affair between Bill and Maureen. I don't remember it well enough to know whether it was a good affair or not. I was only 14, 15 anyway.
In 1998, Bill and Maureen marry.
Yeah,
and then
all off screen.
2006, Bill returns to Weatherfield and takes Kevin and Sally to Paris for their 20th wedding anniversary. What did they do to deserve that?
Now he had an affair with Audrey that year, and this is obviously a while after Alfie had died, and she was under the impression that he'd split up from Maureen. But the truth came out that Christmas when Maureen showed up at the Platts family Christmas meal. Do you remember seeing that? I can't remember whether you watched that one or not.
I think so.
David told Maureen what had been going on, and Bill thumps him. This is definitely during David's evil phase.
Yeah, I can just imagine him squinting with pleasure.
Yeah, I think Maureen must have just been like in 1 or 2 episodes then, Sherry Houston back, because I think she was busy doing Loose Women and stuff by then, so there was never any real chance of her coming back to Coronation Street for good.
Maybe one day. 2007, Bill moved in with Audrey and she loans him £10,000 to buy Charlie Stubbs' building yard because he's dead.
Yeah.
Doesn't need it anymore.
No.
Who does he pay the money to? That's what I want to know.
2008, Audrey dumped him after a disastrous booze run to France with Janice and her boyfriend Roger.
I remember Roger. Why do I remember
I don't remember
Roger?
much about Roger. Was
Roger.
it Roger? It was Roger the bin man, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because didn't he like fancy Carla for a bit, and then Janice?
I don't remember. I just
seduced him
remember
away.
Janice really liked him.
Yeah, so they go on this booze cruise to France, and Bill pretty much just ignores Audrey during it, and is just too busy, getting his beer. So yeah, they split up. Sad.
Now, Audrey wants her money back in 2009, and so Bill has to downsize his business and cut Jason's hours.
Yes, but it's not all bad that year, because that is when he met the lovely Pam Hobsworth at a singles night. They arranged a double date. Do you remember this? They went on a date with another couple, and he was pretending to be an army veteran.
And she was a concert pianist, and she was like, ew, snooty snoo.
I can't even remember why they did it. Was it just for a laugh that they did that?
Well, it made me laugh.
I think that Pam and Bill were really good together.
They're excellent together. And by the end of the year, they're properly dating.
Yes. 2010, Jason left Bill to work for Owen, who had stolen the Underworld refitting job from him. I think this was after Tony Gordon blew up Underworld, it must have been, and Bill was given the contract to do it, but then Owen came and gazumped him. It was
right before he blew it up, wasn't it?
Bill had no choice but to work for him too. And he ended up selling the yard to Owen. That's why he has it now. And then he retired after he accidentally pushed a bucket of cement over Izzy.
Accidentally, yeah.
She's probably there moaning on about something. Whoops.
I quit.
We've all wanted to push a bucket of cement over Izzy at some point.
He moves in with Pam, and then, although we're happy that they're together and they're a perfect couple, we see less of him because of this. And
Yeah,
just
he
ends up
gets
being a
like
recurring
properly.
character.
Yeah, he gets moved onto the recurring character list. It's really weird what they've done with Bill over the year. Just like in it for a few years, then away, then in and out. That's why he thinks that he can come back now. I think because he spent the last 30
Probably.
years just going in and out,
In
in
and
and out
out.
in Coronation Street. No, he didn't go to Molly's funeral that year with Pam. Obviously, Pam had to go, Auntie Pam, because he'd fallen out with Kevin because he completely disapproved with.
I don't
as we
agree
all
with
did,
affairs.
with Kevin and Molly's
But
affair.
I'm not going to go to the funeral.
In 2011,
He does get engaged to Pam.
Yeah, I told you.
We didn't make out. You said earlier you couldn't remember.
No, I thought he did. He had a heart attack that year. Gemma's got the hiccups now, everybody. So she's feeling better after being poorly last week, but she has got the hiccups now because
Sorry.
she's been drinking a bottle of, what's it called? Recorderling cider,
Recorderling.
which we thought was quite good for our recording this
It's not very
evening.
good. It's making me hiccup.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Bill's heart attack.
Pam argues with Kevin, and then
Oh, yeah,
Bill
but
has a heart
she
attack.
blames him
but then
for-
they reconcile later because of all the oh dear.
Yeah.
And he does go to Sophie's wedding to Sean, which didn't go without a hitch.
That was probably one of the last times we ever saw Bill then,
somebody
wasn't it?
gets
Because
married-
they had a Christmassy wedding.
If somebody has a wedding and they don't get married, do you say it didn't go with a hitch?
Yeah.
You do.
I think you can say that.
There you go.
2013, he's had another heart attack again. And then
And
Kevin
he's buggered off back
mysteriously
to
drops
Germany.
everything and goes over there to
Yeah,
him.
he's
But he'll be
living
back
in-
soon.
Living in Germany
And
because
hopefully we'll
they're
find
really
out what's
good with heart
happened.
attacks there.
Yeah. So, Bill, he's just like a all-round kind of good bloke, really. He's a bit silly sometimes and doesn't necessarily always treat the women he's with respect, but
He's a nice kind of granddaddy character. I liked him.
Yeah, he was protective of his blood family, wasn't he? Like when he finally got round to meeting them, Rosie and Sophie, I think he was a fairly good granddad too. And it was funny seeing like a father-son relationship with between an older character and also a grown-up son.
Yeah.
Because he was like when he was chastising Kevin for his affairs with Molly and everything. You don't get to see a lot of that.
No, not really.
Partly because there's so
Ken
few
does a lot
old
of it.
people. Oh yeah, Ken does, doesn't he?
You've written that Corriepedia describes him as an older, wiser Kevin.
Yeah, I think I can see that. A bit of a lad, but
Well, Kevin later
Mature,
years
mellowed out.
Kevin, I don't think so.
I can.
I don't know.
I don't.
I
can,
went off Kevin at the end when before he left with him and Sally and him sniffing around trying to get back in her good books, and she was like, "Oh, let me make your fish fingers."
Yeah,
Something like that.
So
But I did like Kevin. I mean,
Bill.
I did like Bill, and I would like to see him come back.
I don't. Is there much
But
place
only
for
with
him? I
Pam.
suppose there is place for him because there's enough of the Websters left. I don't know what he would do.
No.
Even if he doesn't come back with Pam, what about putting him back with Audrey again?
No,
No.
no,
No.
no.
Why?
Because he and Bill and Pam forever.
But what
It's
if?
true love.
What if?
Yeah,
I think that Bill and Audrey would be good together.
they're alright, but they're not as good as Bill and Pam.
Just put any pair of classic
Get rid
characters
of Audrey
together.
if you need to get rid of somebody to bring Pam back. I don't care. I love Pam. She's my favourite.
You think we were talking about Pam? That was it. Anything
No,
else to say
Bill,
about
I mean,
Bill?
Bill is
Anything
awesome.
else to say about Bill?
No.
Or should we kill this Bill discussion?
Oh, you were waiting for that, weren't you?
Yeah.
Let's move on to the cabin.
There we go. That was Bill.
Yep. So
Oh, I
sadly,
did
all of our
like
predictions are not going to come true, unless
No.
they say, "Oh yeah, you just missed him. he's only here on alternate days."
They could recast, couldn't they?
They could actually recast. I don't know what the purpose would be.
Oh, I mean,
Kevin's young enough to still have a dad.
I think we've talked about recast quite a bit on the podcast before, and when we would and wouldn't accept them, and obviously it's a bit of a hot topic at the moment. But it feels quite disrespectful to recast a character after the actor has actually died.
Yeah,
I mean,
agree with
apart
you.
from the original actress to play Blanche was recast
Well-
because that was only after a few episodes and everything. But I wouldn't sit right. I wouldn't feel respectful for them to bring him back with a brand new
I
face.
see what you mean. Yeah, I didn't really think about that.
I don't think there'd be a good enough reason, but I mean, there's nothing
not
stopping
holding out
them,
hope
is
for
there?
Hilda to be recast and brought back.
Just
are you?
imagine if they brought Hilda back with
what would happen?
new actress.
Who would they get?
Goodness me.
June Whitfield.
Oh dear me. Anyway, so that was Bill. Really, really did enjoy him, and I'm liking watching him back on the ITV3 episodes now. He's not had a whole lot to do, but it's funny to see him. That's how he was when I first started watching the show. And even though we talked about him and working at the Rovers for a bit on the podcast, and when we did this profile, I'd forgotten that he was there for a bit. But he's just hanging around. He's sniffing around Maureen at the moment, so things are going to start to develop there. So anyway, that is Bill. If anyone's got anything that you want to say about Bill, do let us know in the comments below, right into the podcast, of course. And if you didn't know about Bill Webster, and Debbie Webster's coming back this week into the show, and you're going, who on earth is she? I thought that Kevin just beamed down onto Earth. I didn't know he had any other family. Well, now you know.
Now you know. You can't blame us if you didn't.
And also, Bill is good because he likes Southampton, so
that's true.
That's always a point for us as well.
And as I always say, bring back Pam.
There's still chance to bring back Auntie Pam.
Still
Never give up hope.
Never will.